Good morning, good afternoon. Hello, everybody joining us from all across North America. Thank you. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. I'm Marcia Patrick. I'm the Regional Sales Director for the Western United States and all of Canada. And I'm so happy to be with you guys today to talk a lot of great things. Carmen is going to be missing in action today. She is traveling. I think she's in Chicago. So she's traveling and seeing our wonderful travel advisors and attending conferences. But I'm filling in for her today. So we're still going to have a lot to learn and a lot to talk about. And I've got a very special guest. So let's get started. So as you know, although this is our number one pre-registration question, is if we're recording this. So the answer is always yes. And then soon after the webinar ends, we post that on OneSource for you all to watch at your leisure. We love for you to join us live. That's what kind of gives us our energy. So if you can join us live, fantastic. If you are selling or on a conference or cruising or something, then you could watch it later as well. And then always stick around because we love to do Q&A. I personally read through the pre-registration questions and try to pull questions that I think everyone would have a benefit from learning from. And that will happen at the end of this webinar. But let's not forget that Princess has been nominated in 20 categories for Travel Weekly. So if you have not voted yet, please, please, please continue to support us. You can use your cell phone, open to the camera section, scan the QR code here, and you can go directly to the area where you can vote. So the one that's nearest and dearest to our heart, because we've got a lot of sweat equity involved in Alaska, is Best in Alaska. We've won 19 times, so we'd love to make it 20 with your help. And then we've got Best Onboard Tech, which was, I think, new for last year, and you guys resoundingly gave us that vote. We love our group program, and then also the Best Travel Advisor Education Program, which we won last year as well. So Princess Academy, you guys, we love your support in all of these areas. Thank you for voting in advance. But what we're here to talk about today is 2025-26 preview for all things Australia, New Zealand, and the beautiful South Pacific. So we're super excited. You guys, we got you today, like the creme de la creme for someone to talk to us about Australia. My counterpart, Brett Wendorf, he's head of sales operations for Princess in Australia. Brett,
G'day,
welcome.
everyone. I'm sure you're going to be very disappointed with my accent. I grew up about 25 minutes from the Princess office in Santa Clarita, so this is a very unusual Australian accent that you're going to be hearing today from me.
Yeah, so the lack of accent does not diminish his knowledge. He's wealth of knowledge. So tell us, Brett, a little bit about yourself.
I grew up was born in Burbank and grew up in Northridge in the San Fernando Valley, and went to school there, actually with our trade marketing manager, Joe Franco, and became a Contiki tour manager after university, and traveled across America, US, Canada, and a bit of Mexico for 4 years. I may be working for the Love Boat now, but I was on the Love Bus back with Contiki. Met my wife whilst on board there, and moved to Brisbane in 1997. So all my pop culture references, everything I'm going to talk about today, comparing it to the US and Canada, is about 27 years old. So apologies beforehand.
And how long have you been with Princess?
Just over 10 years now. So yeah,
wow.
I was in adventure travel and expedition prior to coming over to cruising.
Amazing. So thank you so much.
And the 18 to 35 market, Marcia, but I was creeping out of that a while back.
Okay, and just so everyone appreciates, you're attending and you're joining us here today. Tell us where you are and what time it is currently.
I'm normally based in Brisbane, but I'm in Melbourne at the moment. So it's just on 6 o'clock in the morning. Proof of life, there's Melbourne City behind me, so I'm not in Receiver or Saskatoon. Yeah, it's the middle of start of our summer here, but it's about 55 degrees. Melbourne has weather like San Francisco, so it's hot and cold, hot and cold, hot and cold.
Well, thank you, Brett, for joining us. And I know we got you up super early. to be here today. But I'm going to let you take the reins and start sharing with our advisors all your wonderful knowledge on Australia, New Zealand, and South Pacific.
Okay, as I said, good day. We're very excited about this upcoming release. Probably the biggest news for us is that we are getting one of your new ships. So the new ship we've had so far is Majestic, but the big announcement for us is the Discovery is coming down to our shores in 25, 26. And which is exciting for us. As you know, Discovery is part of the Royal class of ships, but they're not sort of Royal class, a bit like Meghan and Harry, royal but not royal. So we're looking at the new build. We've also got Grand coming down, as well as Crown. So we just did our announcement in Australia a couple of days ago, and everyone's very, very excited.
Amazing. We've had Discovery here on the West Coast. She was the first brand new ship to come to the West Coast in many, many years. So she's near and dear to our heart and to mine. So you guys are very lucky to get Discovery.
Excellent. Australia's Princess have a really big presence here in Australia. In the fact that we do cruise out of all the major cities in Auckland, Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, and Perth. And for the second year in a row, we're sailing out of Hobart. So for those of you that want to go off the beaten path and want to spend a bit more time on land exploring with a cruise tour or doing your own thing, then we really give you the full coverage of all those cities. And it's a mix of just about everything. Culturally, we have the Maoris over in New Zealand, which is fascinating. And we actually bring a lot of that culture, a lot of the cheese, a lot of the wine and food and seafood on board our ships. We on a program called Across the Ditch. And then, of course, we have the indigenous culture here in Australia, which is all around Australia, but really a much better presence in the outback and in the tropical north. And then there's the wildlife. I always like to say to Americans, Australia and New Zealand, particularly, are some of the probably the safest destinations to travel to in the world. Unless we talk about our wildlife and our sea life, then might not be as safe.
I've seen some kangaroo videos lately that concerned me a bit. I'm like, they're so powerful, right?
I'm moving back to Los Angeles. The kangaroos are getting way out of control here. But no, it's New Zealand's. They've got no snakes. They've got no mammals. If you like bushwalking, you don't have to have your radar on, and you can still drink from some of the streams, drink straight from the streams, which is amazing. So it's just, and then you mentioned the South Pacific as well. There's lots of amazing cultures here. Something very unique, probably most like our friends in Hawaii, probably a lot like your Polynesian culture there. But the Aboriginal culture is just very different. And then we go to PNG, which is as untouched as a destination you could go to, or Papua New Guinea. Sorry, I do tend to abbreviate.
We love our acronyms.
Yeah. So no, it's not just cruising; it's Australians. We Americans speak like they're getting paid by the page. Australians speak like they're being charged by the letter. So we tend to abbreviate everything. So it does offer just about cosmopolitan culture, wildlife, and beautiful landscapes. We do offer everything down here.
Amazing.
And as I mentioned to the Across the Ditch, the nice thing about Princess is that we really attempt to bring, like we do in Alaska, we attempt to bring the destination on board the ship. So the Across the Ditch, as I mentioned, we'll have Maori lecturers, Maori dancers come on board. We do a hangi, which is like a beach barbecue or clam bake. In oldest terms, sorry, I am very old, but we do have the food and wine on board as well. So you're not just going in and experiencing the culture and then going back to a Princess ship. You're going back and bringing the culture back onto you. So I think this is really one of the standout reasons why to go with Princess, especially around New Zealand.
Amazing. I love Across the Ditch, north to Alaska. It's just amazing.
Thanks, Paula. You need to get down there sooner rather than later. So we have a number of destinations. We have a number of cruises leaving to New Zealand from Australia. So a very popular one. I think this is basically Discovery's routine for the 3 or 4 months that she's down here is our 14-day New Zealand trip. And Crown will be doing as well for your passengers that like the smaller vehicles. But it's pretty comprehensive. The West, and that's probably the biggest question we get is why aren't you doing much on the West Coast? The West is rough. So that's why we don't see the ships doing a lot on the West Coast. The West Coast is beautiful, but not necessarily great for a cruise ship. But yeah, we do go to a lot of the highlights there. Bay of Islands. We actually have this year. We have departures at Waitangi Day, which is, I suppose it's the equivalent of what's the Treaty Day. I don't know if there is an American equivalent, but Bay of Islands is where the treaty was signed. And I think one of our ships is actually in that bay during the time, but it's a beautiful spot. Auckland, like Seattle, probably in 1997. I haven't been to Seattle since, but it's very similar vibe and very similar weather to Seattle. Tauranga. This is when the local knowledge comes in.
Yes, there we go.
When things are hard to pronounce, but that is, I guess, as good of a beach life or culture as you could get. Their capital, Wellington, Christchurch, and North Island is amazing, but South Island just goes that next level. So Christchurch and Dunedin, Fiordland, and Milford Sound we'll talk about later. Your socks will be blown off in the North Island, but then it just goes the entire next level down south. So, and it really depends on what your interest is. There are great golf courses. There's great vineyards, great winery down there. There's amazing bushwalks. Again, no snakes. So the kids could run off 20 kilometers or for their Canadian friends or 12 miles in front of you, and you don't have to worry about it. So it is splendid scenery. Next slide. Sorry, Marcia.
No problem.
And this is Milford Sound. So we do a couple scenic cruisings in Australia and New Zealand, and I think Milford would be the apex, the amazing one to go. If I could give it to you in North American terms, if a flooded Yosemite Valley and cruise ships could go through Oakhurst and Bass Lake and get up to Yosemite, this is the experience that you're going to have there. And it's just it's similar to seeing a fjord or Tracy or any of the fjords, Glacier Point up in Alaska. It's nice mountains. I had to look that up before to make sure I got the pronouncing, but it's not granite. It's something called gneiss, which starts with a G. But it's to be honest, if it's raining, it's even better because then you have the waterfalls come naturally as well. So I was lucky enough to do the Milford trek a few years ago, and it rained, but it was spectacular. But this is really one of the highlights of the scenic cruising in New Zealand.
Hey, Brett, we had a question about, I don't have a name here, Paul 8019. What time of year is best for New Zealand?
Generally, you want to go with, in the summer when we cruise, anytime. Okay. I'm not going to get into the class anytime. I think it does get a bit cold. So I'd say you want to be in the warmer part of the months. The weather tends to settle past February, March. So I'd say probably January onwards for mine. And then, as I said, Waitangi Day, I think, is in the first week of February. So if you want to see New Zealand and its cultural apex, definitely in Feb.
Great. Thank you.
And then, again, some of the other sights and sounds to see. We got the Glowworm Grotto just outside of Auckland. I mean, there's so much to do, but this is a chance to see, chance to go into a grotto and see the glowworms, which we have a big population of, who they turn off the light and they illuminate in the dark. You've also, for you ringers out there, Lord of the Rings fans, you've also got Hobbiton, which is just outside of Auckland as well. Waitiki Island, which is just off Auckland, is actually, it's like the Catalina or Vancouver Island of Auckland, but it's just filled with vineyards. So there's a lot to do if you're going to do get there early, probably 2-3 days or in Auckland just to kind of see everything. And it's a pretty safe city, and it's really embraces its waterfront.
Thank you. I will say, Brett, your analogies of North America are very helpful. Like I'm visualizing all this.
Yeah, no, I last week was my half life anniversary. So I moved here in November '96. So yeah, last week 27 years in Australia and 27 years in America. So
Wow.
yes, I had hair back then. This is what Australia's done to me. And this is my neck of the woods, Queensland. So this is a great 10 or 11 dayer, and this gives you a chance. It's basically the same distance from LA to Calgary. So it's a lot.
Oh,
It's
wow.
lot of way to go. I think sometimes we tend to see another country and make it smaller. This is much bigger. But you'd start off in Sydney, Newcastle, and all the southern capitals, Sydney, Adelaide, Melbourne, Perth, have amazing vineyards. So we have the Hunter Valley just above Newcastle, Brisbane, where the Olympics are going to be in 2032, which is very exciting for me. For those of you that are fans of Steve Irwin, his legacy, his zoo is in just above Brisbane in a place called the Sunshine Coast, so which is great. The one place I love to rave about is Airlie Beach, which is, you see the picture here. This to me is when I first went down to Australia in 94, 95, Airlie Beach, but particularly the Whitsunday Islands, which is the island chain off of Airlie Beach, is the most underrated or overlooked by Americans when we get down there. You have a Whitehaven Beach, which is just the silica sand, and you've probably seen it with models and stuff in Sports Illustrated years ago. But if you like snorkeling, but especially if you like sailing, this is one of the most epic places to sail in the southern hemisphere. Townsville is a new port for us as well this year, and there's an opportunity to go to a place called Magnetic Island, which is just a little tropical island, just literally just across the bay from Townsville. They've also got a underwater statue place where you could snorkel, and see statues while you're snorkeling. And then Port Douglas is just above Cairns. So Cairns can be a bit touristy, a bit backpackery. Port Douglas it's an amazing drive. To me, it's one of the best top 5 drives in Australia from Cairns to Port Douglas. Port Douglas is a bit more upmarket, but this is where we actually go out and see the Great Barrier Reef. So all that far north, you've got rainforest and the hinterland or the hills, and then you've got amazing snorkeling and reefs out not too far out there. So it's to give you perspective. It's you'll have a lot of weather change, so you got to kind of dress up for 2 different types of weather. So in Sydney or in Melbourne, where I'm at now, it's 13 degrees. In Brisbane, where I'm come from, it's 34 degrees, and then in Cairns it'll be about 38 degrees. And sorry for the Americans, 55, 90, 95, but very, very humid. And as I said, go there for the Great Barrier Reef, but the rainforest as well is equally amazing. And if you want to go full scuba diving, if you want to go snorkeling, or if you just want to go off to an island, Prince's got some amazing shore excursions to witness. We've also got the cruise tours in Australia. So if you are sailing out of Sydney, we have a cruise tour you can go do that takes you up to Cairns, out to Uluru or Ayers Rock. And there's also one that goes up to Darwin. So if you can't get all the way up to Queensland, definitely do the cruise tour. And you have to see the reef when you go to Australia. It's like going to Austin, Texas, and saying you've seen all of America. Sydney's not all of Australia. You've got to, or going to Saskatoon and seeing all of Canada. You've got to really make an effort to try to go up to north, out in the outback, and see some of our great cities down here. And even New Zealand's about 1,000 miles long, so it's 1,600 kilometers. So it's lots to see in that area as well. Auckland isn't New Zealand.
Wow. And thanks for mentioning the cruise tours, because we did have a question about if we had any land options. So thanks for covering those.
No worries. And this is the big one, probably for your retirees, because not like the Australians that get 4 weeks holiday a year. The Americans are a bit tight on that, as are the Canadians. But this is the cruise to do, the 28-day around Australia. This and our Australian World Cruise are our 2 most popular cruises. And yeah, as I said, this is pretty much the they're around. And the irony is in Australia, 90% of the population lives about 100 kilometers or 60 miles from the coastline. So if you
Wow.
have friends down here, there's a good chance you'll get to see everybody on this cruise. Someone had asked earlier about what's the best time of year to do this cruise. We
Yes.
generally do it twice a year, and it's September, October, and then we have our March departure. Speaking to you as travel agents, giving you the good and the bad of both seasons. I'd probably prefer that clients do it in September, October. The reason being that's outside of cyclone season. And Australia is probably best to see. New Zealand's best to see in the summer. Australia is probably best to see in the fringe months. And again, we're on opposite schedule with you calendar wise. But our spring, your September, October is a good time to go there. And then our autumn is the other time we do it, but we tend to, you can't win. It's too long of a tour going everywhere to avoid everything weather-wise, but cyclones potentially late part of the year in April, March, and then September, October is really good, except the winds on the West Coast tend to be a bit rough. And this really gets to show you the various big cities. And then, if you can imagine, the South is similar to the U.S. South with a lot of the big cities. And then there's some big cities in North America, but it's all about the national parks, the nature when you go across the north. And you're going from two weather extremes as well. So you'll have, we tend to get warmer weather down south, cooler weather down south, and then more humid, more hot weather up north. But for me, the real things that are attractive to this is that Darwin to Perth sector, which I'd say 95% of the Australians don't go. So going through the Kimberley Coast, going through Broome and Exmouth, and then going down to Perth. And again, if you like your wine, Margaret River is a very good wine region. Perth is more or less the San Diego. And in fact, Perth is the exact opposite latitude and longitude of San Diego. And it's the second most remote city in the world outside of Manaus in Brazil, if you want some random trivia.
Love it.
And then we head off to our South Pacific islands as well. So if you want to explore New Caledonia and Vanuatu, we have a single cruise out there, and then out to Fiji as well with the stop in Noumea and Vanuatu as well. So these are generally 13-nighters, and I think we've got a 12 or 13-nighter to New Caledonia and Vanuatu. And seeing, like, if you haven't done the South Pacific, it's very, very, very different from the Caribbean. So it's more about it's not as developed. It's a lot more big resorts, flop and drop as we call in Australia. There are some cultural mixes, but it's just about the amazing scenery. But no steel drum down here.
Got it. Looks beautiful.
And this is, if you're going to get your group allocation out, and if you had Princess passengers that have been there, done that, they're the elite passengers that have done everything twice. This is the jewel in the crown for us, I think, in Papua New Guinea. And we didn't do it. We're not doing it in 24, so it's not something we do every year. But for those who went off the beaten path, this is it. It is hot and humid. It is very basic. So people with accessibility issues or people that like the creature comforts, this isn't it. But this is the Caribbean before Jimmy Buffett. This is Hawaii long before it became a state. This is as raw as you could get. We'll go to the next slide.
Sure.
So Papua New Guinea, you go there for the war history. And you could actually, you're talking to the village people, not the village people, but the village people who lived whose mom and dads lived there during wartime, and not a lot has changed. So you could actually see relics in Rabaul. And this, if you're looking for shore excursions, this would be the one thing that people would like to do. We had an amazing story where someone American lost their class ring. And we found it like 3 years ago, and the person had passed away, but we were able to get this person's class ring from World
Wow,
War II back to them, like, 70, 80 years later, which is quite amazing.
that's
But
incredible.
yeah, no, I mean, it's just, it's not like things were paved over or burned down or constructed or rebuilt after the war. I mean, that this is still very raw there. So,
Hmm.
and the shore excursions, there's very few, and they're very cheap. A lot of places, there's just a guide there that you has a badge on, and you give them 5 or 10 Australian dollars, and they'll take you around the village or take you around some of the war sites. So Australia and New Zealand's nearly cashless at the moment. So
Hmm.
this is the only place I'd bring cash. I don't have the AUD or local currency, but anywhere else, just use your credit card or your prepaid card, and you'll be fine. And then the other thing here is you need to bring your own snorkeling equipment. So bring your flippers and bring your snorkels. Don't wear them on the ship, of course. But you can literally just go right off the amazing beaches and snorkel, and yeah, just breathtaking. So this is it's not bleached. It's as pure and colorful as you get, and it's as raw as you get. And you don't have to take a glass bottom boat all the way out there to really get to the reef.
Wow, very unique.
And then, of course, if you want to, these are getting more and more popular. Is the crossings, and it's probably the best bargain out there. To be honest,
Yes.
it's probably cheaper to cruise than it would be fly business class or premium economy back home. So if you're not a big
Hmm.
fan of the flying, this is a great option on Discovery Princess. So she's
Sail in luxury. Yes.
yeah. So so this is keep an eye out for these, but this is a great way to get home. I think also, if I was to give you a bit of advice, if you have clients that are get seasick, if they're going to do New Zealand, we have a lot of open jaw cruises, and I'd recommend that your clients just go one way, because the Tasman or the sea in between Australia and New Zealand tends to be a bit rough. So if people are quite sensitive to that, and plus that'd give the clients a chance to see a little bit of New Zealand, a little bit of Australia afterwards, and then but yeah, your clients, and you tell them they have to wake up to cruise into Sydney Harbor. Cruising into Sydney would be on par with cruising into Vancouver or cruising into San Francisco. It's just something you have to get up for to go into, because it is quite a miraculous. And they put you in right between the Harbor Bridge and the Sydney Opera House. So that's the one time you got to wake up. And you don't go under the Harbor Bridge like you do Lionsgate or Golden Gate Bridge, but you're right to the heart of the action when you get there.
Okay, let's give them some top reasons.
Yeah, so I mean, it is like Black Friday for you guys down here. The AUD is at $1.56 for our American friends, and for our loonie is even worth $1.14. So the Canadians can be proud of their mighty loonie and toonie when they get down to Australia. There's no tipping or gratuities on land. That's a special Marcia and I are running today, just for you travel agents. It's
Just because
weird.
you joined us today.
What's that?
Just because they joined us today.
Really weird. I still feel guilty not tipping, but it's sensational. And I think I went back to the States in April, and you have to tip Subway sandwich artists now. So I don't know when you stop topping. Like I haven't had during the pause I didn't have any currency, and I went over, and you don't need to carry currency. It's quite strange. As I said, the cross the ditch is really the reason to go with us in New Zealand. And safest place in the world, Discovery Princess. Aussies and Kiwis aren't easy to understand, but we're easy to travel with. But yeah, just don't have expectations on Formalites. And then, as I said, the cruises to Papua New Guinea and Northern Explorer, which is part of the Round Australia, really take you to some of the most remote places. You're going to places that most Australians haven't been to, so it does take you off. And then I mentioned as well, Tassie has cruises going from Tasmania, and it's like North Island, New Zealand in terms of scenery, but there's wildlife everywhere. So it is sensational if you want to get off the beaten path.
Okay, so we got one question. Thank you so much for all that great information, Brett. But I'm going to ask this one question. Jay Lee, I believe, or Lai, will clients need to pay onboard crew appreciation? So we actually had this discussion before we started today, and that answer is yes. So our North American guest, it's still included in the Plus and Premier package, and yes, there's still expectation for tipping on board for our hardworking crew. All right, Brett, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to bring you back because we have a couple of questions we're going to ask towards the end, but I'm going to do some housekeeping, cover some notes and some things about, local sales, and then we'll bring you back. So thank you again, and we'll see you in a few minutes.
No worries.
Thanks, Brett. All right, he's such a wealth of knowledge. So we're going to hit news, notes, and reminders really quick. I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about Black Friday sale. So first of all, Black Friday sale started earlier than we had originally anticipated. So on Monday, we sent out a notice to all of our travel advisors that are registered with us in OneSource to let you know that we were starting Black Friday sale early. So it actually started on the 14th. And we were originally planning to start it around the 20th or 21st. But we moved it up because there was such clamoring for Black Friday sales. And you'll probably notice that there was a trend with Black Friday starting early pretty much everywhere. So we jumped on that bandwagon as well. There were questions in pre-registration about whether you are able to refare if you had booked previously. The Black Friday sale is new bookings only. You always still have some options in there if you like, but it means that you booked early, and so you got the benefit of the better staterooms and everything. And we tried to keep price integrity as much as we could. For the majority of sailings, you're not going to probably see a whole lot of change on the price side. In our need areas, you will see that maybe the price is a little better, but the biggest difference is going to be the reduced deposit and the third and fourth guest free. We do have a special past passenger promotion out that if your client is eligible, they would have gotten a special email about it that also adds onboard credit to this offer. So, and of course, we did not email anyone who was already currently booked. So, but just so you guys know, in case you get clients calling that want to participate in Black Friday sale and they're speaking about an onboard credit. Lots of good questions came up in pre-registration for that. And then we have exciting news for you. So our Medallion Class app is going to be renamed. It's soon going to be called the Princess Cruises app. So it's planned to change on December 1 of 2023. There isn't much more that's changing other than some nomenclature, but I'll go over that with you. So what you're going to see is that the Medallion Class app is going to be available to still download and access. Download basically through December 1st. After December 1st, you cannot download the Medallion Class app. If you already have it, that's fine. You'll still be able to use the Medallion Class app through February of 2024. But as new people book with us and they need to download the app, they're going to be downloading the Princess Cruises app. It's going to be smooth transition because if you've already uploaded and given us your information in the Medallion Class app, you can upload the Princess Cruises app and all of that information is going to be there for you. There isn't much changing in the app, but I will call out, like I said, that there's some of the naming conventions is going to be a little different. So in the Medallion Class app, we refer to dining reservations as Dine My Way. In the new app, it's going to be simply reservations. So we're basically changing the language so that your clients, our guests, more easily understand what it is that we're talking about in the app. Journey View is going to change to My Journey. Ocean Compass is now going to be explore and find your way around the ship. So it's a little easier to understand what that is. Ocean Ready remains Ocean Ready, so that we all know we're trying to get Ocean Ready for our cruise. And then Ocean Now is going to change to either service or order, just something to make sure that everybody is more clear on it. So no other major changes to the app at this time, but we are going to be switching to a new app that is called the Princess Cruises app. Make sure to ask your BDM if you have any questions. And then we all know about the Sun Princess. I actually wore my Sun Princess t-shirt today because I'm so excited about her. She joins us in February of 2024. She's the first of its kind ship for our family. She's a concept ship, our largest ever, 4,300 guests in more than 29 restaurants and bars. She's got 21 decks. And the other thing that I think that we sometimes forget to call out on her, and you can see from this picture here, is that she's purposely designed for the views. And by that, I mean This ship has no obstructed view staterooms, which is pretty incredible. I think we sometimes forget to say that. So, often the water taxis will sometimes cause an obstruction in view. We've actually located those water taxis in a place where they're not obstructing any cabin views. You'll see that they're underneath the top row of staterooms, and they're above those cove cabins that we have also been telling you about with kind of the enclosed balconies. So I can't wait to see her, and she's amazing. We've got Sun Princess maiden voyages, so we still have availability. I know lots of Princess guests love to sail on inaugural cruises. We still have availability on her first sailing on February 8th. That's our 10-day inaugural doing the Grand Mediterranean, and also February 18th and February 28th. You'll find that later in the season, things are getting really booked, like doing an excellent job of selling those, but there's lots of people who first voyage. So make sure that you're also talking to them about that first February 8th, which will be absolutely spectacular. We've got Randy Finoli still doing that Love and Romance Celebration cruise out of Galveston. Just a reminder, you guys, that we are doing the Caribbean out of Galveston. Randy Finoli is going to be on our December 3rd sailing on the Regal Princess. Balconies from 59 per day. Yes, I'm going to say that again. Balconies per day, because you can't get a whole, right? And this includes your food, your entertainment, your stateroom steward. Like, it's just incredible that your opportunity for $59 per day in a balcony. Reminder about Polar Online. So this was wildly popular, that we have our contact center counterparts partner with us and provide this training series for you all. Basically, it's in preparation also for Wave. Things are going to get busy. We don't want you guys on hold waiting to ask a simple question. We want to make sure that you have the resources at your fingertips. And so please make sure that you use, what might be a little bit of quiet time to go through the training resources that have been provided. So we did, I think we've got 6 courses that are already online for your view. And then we also have a new schedule of an additional 4 to 6 courses, more intermediate and advanced, because we have more on that subject level. But you can always look under training section. That's where you're going to see our, and then you're also going to see the ability to sign up for those future courses in November. Oh, here are the dates. Thanks, Joe, for adding them. So there's dates here, but again, you can sign up on those on OneSourceCruises.com in the training section. So Princess Academy, all refreshers are now available. So there's a new course, and sorry, I'm getting a little feedback, and I hope you guys aren't hearing that, but there's a new refresher course that's about what's new at Princess. It introduces Sun Princess, Star Princess. It has the cruise fare, and then you need to complete 3 refreshers by February 29th in order to renew your Commodore status and earn the $50 onboard spin. But that February 29th date is key because you want to be able to have access to your also elite status for 2024. So you need to complete all the refreshers by February 29th of 2024. Okay, and then an insider scoop. We have a new web coming for you. So Connect with Princess, award-winning. Thank you guys so much for the Magellan Award. We're adding a series specifically about Alaska. And so we're going to have more details to share with you, and we'll absolutely share information in the TA newsletter on how to get started. But it's, sorry, put it a 10. We have a 6-part series that starts November 30th. It's going to be hosted by myself or Carmen, or maybe we're going to have a guest host, and then we'll have guest speakers. We're going to actually hear from our hotel general managers who are in our 5 lots doing also the rail operations. So you're going to get great info, and you want to make sure details and sign up as soon as it's available. All right, I think we're going to bring Brett back for some lovely Q&A.
How are you?
All right, Brett.
Marcia, do you want me to just read the
Oh no, I'm seeing notes here that I apologize. It looks like I was cutting out. I was hearing feedback. Can you guys hear me better now? Can you hear me okay, Brett?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay. I don't know what's happening, but I think I was cutting it out. I apologize, guys. Let's go to Q&A, Brandon. Okay.
So you actually lose time. So when you, Michelle, so yeah, when you fly to America, to give you the perspective, you leave here like at 11, and you get to LA, where my mom lives, the same day, 2 hours earlier. So you gain time going that way, and then you lose time across the international date line on the way over. So because at the moment, like in Melbourne, we are 19 hours ahead of you, and we are 20 years behind you.
Okay.
So-
Cruises with Gia. When you say,
So-
I'm going to read the question, Brett. When you say that the sea is rough between Australia and New Zealand, how bad are we talking?
I've crossed the Tasman about 6 times, which is the sea between Australia and New Zealand. We've had bumps, and I think, but only once I've had to starfish, which is put my arms out, my legs out, lie in the bed, and can ride it out. So generally, it is probably sometimes the sea between Tasmania and Australia can get a bit rough, but I'd say most people who've cruised a while, they won't see, it won't be worse than anything they've seen before. But there was just the one time that I went across where you just stayed in your cabin and kind of rode it out. So it's not every cruise, but yeah.
I'm going to also cover really quick. Someone asked about the Randy Finoli. Thank you for putting December 3rd. And then also someone asked, when does the Medallion app come out? So we anticipate that the new app will be out December 1st.
So good question. So generally we do those twice a year, and I would recommend that you get your groups on those ASAP when they go live in the US, just because they are very popular, and generally in the fringe months. So we just had one finish. So you're looking at September, October, sometimes as late as November, and then March and April as well. And then sometimes we have Northern Explorers, which just go to the top end. We might sneak a few more of those days, depending on what we're doing out of Perth. So tricky question. You can do whatever you want. You're travel agents. You want to do the best for your clients. Back-to-backs can be booked, but it's just sometimes it just takes reaching out to your BDM or reaching out to our amazing solutions team and kind of connecting the dots. So we don't do as many logicals as they say they do in the Caribbean or in European, where you could do a 21-day, a 7-day, or a 14-day. So you can do it, book it early, reach out to solutions so they could be in the same cabin, and we could kind of manually adjust it. The only headache you probably have is if your clients are doing the first or last cruise before the ships come down from Asia or Europe or North America, because the U.S. control the ships from between Australia and America. So those ships are generally in USD, so it's kind of two different princess regions trying to connect the dots. So that might be a bit more difficult, and your clients will go from USD for the first part. Like if they went from Auckland to Sydney, that would be in USD, and then there'd be an AUD after that. But anything's possible. But I'd say if they want to do back-to-backs, book it early, reach out to solutions, and then we'll do our magic behind the scenes.
Hey, Brett.
Sorry, Marcia, cut off.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. You kind of covered this a little bit, but Susie Cruzy would like to know. I can hear myself cutting. Sorry. There we go.
Sorry, Marcia. I'll answer the questions. So the cruises that with mostly Americans will on board will tend to be the Trans-Tasmans, the Sydney, the Aucklands to Sydneys. That tends to be the most popular with that market. Whereas the Australians tend to like the round trip out of Brisbane or the round trip out of Sydney or Melbourne or Adelaide. So you'll generally see a higher amount of Americans on board those ships. The currency on board those ships, again, it's mostly going to be Australia. The Australian currency, the only ones that have the U.S. dollar in this market will be the ones that are actually sailing to or from the U.S. Not the Hawaii round trip, but the ones that either start or end in for my Canadian friends, Vancouver or LA, the cruises that come to and from them.
Okay, I'm just testing my audio. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, we can.
Okay, thank you. I've been jiggling cords around here. Okay, do you think we'll add any cruises that are more theme focused, like a wine cruise? So yes, actually, we had some of those towards the end of this year, and we are working on a robust list of theme cruises for 2024. So more to come on that.
In Australia, New Zealand, probably not as quickly as the Americans, but we'd love them, Marcia. We would love them down here, but not yet.
Yeah, 80s was really popular. Okay, having completed Commodore status, does that mean we are elite? Yes. So once you finish the academy and earn Commodore status, then you do get to sail as an elite, yes, status. And thanks for the comments, guys. Sorry the audio was bad earlier. When will we get information on 2024 training, seminars at sea, ship inspections, etc.? Yes, we are feverishly working on a new list of seminars at sea and our ship visits. And as a reminder, we are putting all that on one source for you so that no matter where you are, you have access to come see our beautiful ships and do an inspection with us. And then also you're going to have the ability to sign up for seminars at sea. This was a good question pre-registration. Why would you include travel protection when charging the deposit? Is there any benefit to paying it before final payment? So this is a personal choice, but we give you the option to pay the travel protection at any time during your booking experience with Princess. At the time, I'm hearing feedback, so I think I'm going to cut out. Give me one sec, guys. Can you hear me, Brett?
Yeah.
Okay. At the time,
Now it's completely out, Marcia.
It's out. How about now?
Yeah. No.
Sorry. Hold on. Give me a sec. Now?
Yes.
Okay. So I have to hold completely still for some odd reason, which is hard because I'm a moving person. Okay. So if you pay travel protection, the moment you pay travel protection, the benefits of protection begin. So you no longer then have to worry about a pre-existing condition because you're covered from that moment. That's the benefit of paying at a time prior to final payment.
That's our last question.
Yay! And Paul, I don't know your name. Hall 8019, you're exactly correct. It's always technical. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Brett, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us and our community. We're so excited to have Australia open for sale, 25-26.
Excellent. And then we'll look forward to seeing you all come down here.
And I want to wish everybody a fabulous Thanksgiving. It's my favorite holiday of the season because it's just about fellowship, you know, love, food, good people, family. So if I don't see you before then, I wish everybody a happy, healthy, safe Thanksgiving. Thanks for joining us.